That old thing, Paul, that all the players used to say, not so much now because there are more stage events, but of taking that floor form onto the stage.
Well, it's a true thing. I mean, it used to be the case with Justin. His floor form at the back end of 2011 was better than anybody in the world. I was not doing so bad myself that year, and it came through towards September, October, November. On the floor, there was nobody better in the world than Justin. And consequently, shortly after that, he transported his form from the floor to the stage. Hence, he was the first winner on the European Tour when he won in Wiener Neustadt. And maybe Madars Razma, knowing that, can take something from this kind of game.
It was a little unlucky in the first couple of defeats on the Euro Tour this year, both 6-5 at the hands of Matthew Dennant and Keegan Brown. He was hammered by Chris Dobey at the European Darts Grand Prix 6-0.
Yeah, that game with Keegan Brown, he didn't do a great deal wrong, madman. Brown just went ballistic in the last couple of legs. And sometimes you just got to hold your hands up and say, yes, I was leading most of that game, but Brown just finished like a thoroughbred.
I beg your pardon, 24, sorry.
Yeah, Razma, though, coming from Latvia, the flag bearer for darts in Latvia, he has stepped up over the course of the last 3 years and shown some of his mettle. And like we mentioned, it's just consistency that he's searching for. And maybe Justin Piper's looking for the same thing, because we have seen him on the European Tour this year in that heroic run in Leverkusen, where he definitely wasn't thinking about the darts, he was thinking about something else. But his ability to make the final session, for me, is one of the stories of the Euro Tour this year.
We'll come on to that at the end of this leg, because I also think it proved to be a turning point in this season.
155.
See if he can carry on the trend of big checkouts at the start of this Czech tournament. Not quite.
I wonder how many times we're going to pull that pun in the next 3 days. Check out.
Well, will there be any checks in at the end of today's action, Paul?
Yeah, it's very possible. I wouldn't write off any of them. Some of them we don't know a great deal about, but we know plenty about Karol Sedlacek, who we'll see in Game 4 this afternoon against Brendan Dolan, and Brendan knows how dangerous he is. Try to fiddle with that treble for double four. And why do you need the treble when you can hit tops first start? Steady start from JP.
Yeah, just to come back to your point about that run at the European Darts Open in March. Before that event, when Justin Piper had that, as you said, heroic run to the quarterfinals, he had lost in the first round in 7 out of the 8 Players' Championship events. Since then, he's lost once in 10 in the first round.
60.
So maybe he's just settled a little bit into the season after that run, like you mentioned. And if my memory serves me rightly, I think the one person he did beat was Steve Beaton, which
81.
is quite incredible, considering Steve has qualified for every single tournament on the European Tour this year and has had a decent floor season as well. But Steve Beaton is seeded this week, so he's got to figure out how to play on a Saturday without having that performance on a Friday. Will that affect the legend?
Yeah, ruined his chances of a perfect qualifying record, didn't it? Getting seeded.
Would have been brilliant if he'd have done 13 out of 13. Would have been talking about that forever. But that run is over. But he's still here, which is great.
And just to carry on talking about Pipe's return to form, he's also qualified for European Tour 10 in Austria at the end of August. And beat Ryan Joyce in the decisive match for this tournament and that.
You can see from the angle of entry of the dart for Razma, his is very upright. That'll probably look quite flat to him because he's about 6.5 foot tall, maybe a little bit more. But Pipe, on the other hand, completely the other way. He's using a slightly bigger flight these days to get a bit of extra drag in the air. So they're going in at that opposite angle to Razma, but they're actually going in a little bit flatter than they used to.
Well, can he see that bull if he finds the treble 20?
He's going to go for it anyway.
70.
And the answer is
Justin
not enough.
require 121.
Pipe might be taking aim at that target. Fat 11 gives him a dart.
96.
Wrong side of the ring.
He would have thought that was in when he threw
65.
it, because the line was perfect. Razma gets the 25. That's a good dart. Don't care who you are in the world, when you go for that 25, you're hoping you don't hit the bull. It's a level. It's tens. It's there.
The second leg. Madars
Good riposte from Razma.
Third leg, Justin to throw first.
And what's really interesting, Murph, is that the dart at the bullseye for Justin Pipe, the flights that he was using previous to this season, which were a lot slimmer, if he'd hit that 60 and the 11 last year, his flight, after hitting the treble 20, would have covered the bullseye. But because these ones are a little bit flatter and not so downward, he's not covering the bullseye, so he didn't have to adjust, which says to me that Pipe has made a very positive change in his equipment.
Becoming more and more a factor, isn't it? What you're throwing, not just how you're throwing.
42.
Little changes that players make. Some of them, like Peter Wright, will change the whole lot at will. Just these little adjustments that certain players make just to get that extra edge.
Yeah, Whitlock's like that, and it's Whitlock who awaits the winner of this one. Whitlock loves changing his stems. I can't remember the last time he played with the same stems in 2 consecutive days. He's got more stems than the Chelsea Flower Show.
It's interesting though, some players just do it because they feel like it, don't they? Some players, there is actually method, like you've just described in Pipe's change.
Yeah, I don't think we should ever underestimate the equipment intelligence of some of these players, especially someone like Justin, who has used the same barrel for pretty much his entire career. And that stem has elongated sometimes and shortened. The flight has had small changes, but ultimately the formula of what he's doing now is very similar to what he was like when he was really successful. Pipe leaves himself that 170, which we've seen plenty of already, 96. Even here in Game 2 on the Friday afternoon in Prague.
Yeah, should have seen it twice. Put for a bounce out on the bull. Pipe is not going to pin it here. It does allow Razma a chance to
41.
Steal this leg.
Madars require 157.
Might have just become better, because Pipe only managed to muster up 41 in the previous visit, and 129 is a very tricky finish.
It is, and I just get the feeling that Justin made a slight mental error in the last visit. Can he rectify it with a 60 and a bull? He can't, and he may be ruining the fact that he didn't switch after the first start in the previous visit at a clean treble 19, but he's relying on Razma missing this 77. It's very likely that he's going to hit it now to steal the march away from Justin Pipe. Big dart. Big hit from the big man. And Razma has what could be the only breakthrough that he needs to win this match.
Back-to-back legs, won on double 10 by the Latvian star. Playing on the European Tour for the 8th time in his career. Twice he's won his first match, but has gone no further. So will be a little target of his to perhaps try and get to the final day of action this weekend.
Well, how can we ever forget his performance in Denmark last year, where he absolutely walloped Jeffrey de Zwaan with a titanic average. And he then got walloped himself in the next game, but That performance on the Friday in Copenhagen was absolutely perfect. But Razma is looking to progress, and this is not a bad time of year to do it. And you've probably already mentioned with Dan Dawson that this is the cut-off of the match player. We have seen some crazy things in the last cut-off tournament. Just go back to Gibraltar with Jamie Lewis, who had to make the final to get himself in Blackpool, and he made the final. Yes, he lost to Phil Taylor, but he made the final, and he gazumped Michael Smith. So the plot will thicken, well, I'm sure.
It'll be all eyes on Keegan Brown this afternoon if he wins his first match. He'll move into the last provisional spot.
Razma is on for the perfect 6-start finish, the 180-170.
Yeah, what a response to the 180 from Pike. Well, that came out of the 5 segment, didn't it, or the treble 5, so I suppose that's why he didn't get too annoyed with that fallout.
Fishing rods are out for this again. Fishing rod is back in the hut.
Yeah, just to come back to your match play point, the cut-off last year, Willie O'Connor got to the final. Had he beaten Michael Van Gerwen, he would have snuck in at the expense of Richard North, I remember us watching behind a pillow.
Nobody is safe until Monday morning. Nobody. Now, he's got a choice here. He could go treble 11 if he wants. He may think this is his only shot, and he may go treble 11. But he's got a beautiful 57 for double 8. This will be some shot.
117.
Well, this could be a big moment. A miss from Pike. And now Razma hoping to get 2 at tops. Instead, it might be 2 tops.
60. Justin requires 60.
You don't think you're coming back when your opponent is sitting on double 8. And I get the feeling Madars may be right. He's going to need a good anchor dart. He's found it. What a lovely shot and a wry smile from the Southwest England professional. As if to say it, that only just snuck in.
Well, he spoiled the picture a little bit, didn't he? Because he was building a kind of staircase into the double 8 there. Ended up like a podium instead.
Well, someone wants to get on the podium this week. They didn't know Grand Prix. But you want to get yourself into that final game, don't you? Like, just give yourself one chance. But to go back to what you were saying about Willie O'Connor in Hamburg last year, I picked him at the beginning of the Sunday to make the final because he was playing that well. But now, he's playing even better, and he's in this tournament. So he likes playing in the summer, in the hot, which this arena will be over the next few days. I think Willie O'Connor's one to watch. But MVG's back, isn't he?
90.
He is, and it is that time of year when the top players like to send messages out and kind of stop their rivals building up any kind of head of steam ahead of the World Series events. One in Germany, one in Las Vegas, and then of course the World Match Play coming up where Gary Anderson is looking to defend his title.
Sensible play from Pipe here. He's going to stick downstairs, has to really. And a beautiful third dart gets him to a much more favourable number than that 170. He has an out now. So if he gets a 25 and a 60, he gets a shot at the bull, whereas the 170 you've got to be perfect.
60.
I just get the feeling that extra treble 19 put extra pressure on Madars Razma. Good gameplay from Justin Pipe here. And believe it or not, that's a really good guide for the 132. Oh, right next door. Oh, how did he miss? How did that not go in?
He didn't know that he had missed. He had to wait for Russ Bray to call it.
Well, in darting terms, he's just lipped out.
54. Justin, you require 25.
Pike returns, looking to hit the front again. He'll have to be a little bit tighter with the first dart at double 8 than last time around. Doesn't matter because he's moving to double 4.
21. Medals
most
you
professional
require
players will
107.
probably have that reaction if they threw that at double four. That was quite a way away. And Razma still has a chance, even with that miss.
54 for the bull.
82.
That would have hurt Pipe if he'd have hit that ball.
Justin, you
You
require
hate those
4.
shots.
Good double for him this though, isn't it? Double two down the bottom, because he can stack on top of that, work his way up and work his way in.
Justin Pipe. Stick flag and Madars
well said,
from
Murph.
first. Game on.
There's no better player in the world on stacking a dart than Justin when he's playing well, in my opinion. I'm saying that now that Phil
123.
Taylor's retired. But if you get him on double two or double seven, for instance, and he's got one just below it, you can bank that Justin's going to hit the next one. I think it's good to see JP playing well at the minute. Like you mentioned, he is going to be in Vienna at the end of August, which I'm sure will be steaming hot at the Multiversum. So he's got this one and the next one to look forward to try and kickstart his season.
Yeah, there's also another Players' Championship doubleheader. A week leading up to the World Match Play, that one.
And there is a Pro Tour weekend in Germany. We're going back to Pro Tours in Germany, which we haven't done for years. There's Stefan Belmont, who has already been eliminated, but no shame for Stefan. I think we'll see a bit more of him in the future.
45.
Plenty of time on his side.
Yeah, it's 6-2 defeats on the European Tour for him against very, very good performances from Dutch opponents, JDZ and today Danny Noppert.
You see the room that Pipe leaves when he hits the bottom of a treble. It looks so inviting. And Razma is in a little spot of bother in this match if he doesn't hold his throw here.
Yeah, had to find a treble in that
96.
visit. And did, but Pipe can pile on the pressure. A low dart in the treble 20 here. Just like that. And Razma knows what is coming.
You see from his face, Chris, how good he was just to get the 140. He was begging to be hit. And now Tubbs is begging to be hit. This is a big shot.
You can just see the puff of the cheeks, the intake of breath. He knows it. And he finds it.
6 leg. Madars Razma. 7 leg just in the front.
I looked at the draw before we started this afternoon, and I picked this match out to be really close. Look how close it is.
Well, the stats back it up. If you look on the averages from the Players' Championship tournaments, they are neck and neck. One place between the pair of them, averaging around 92 for the course of the season on the floor.
Yeah, there's no shame in that. The problem is, there's a lot of guys who are really kicking on this season who are sticking around that 95 mark, which is where you need to be for me.
Well, this pair producing almost exactly what is expected of them, going by that gauge.
140.
The only thing I did notice is that Justin Pipe had a more varied range, so a much higher top average and a much lower bottom average.
96.
So he's got more capability right now to lift his game if needed, potentially. This is, you could call it the precursor to what the main courser will be this afternoon, because we have the long-awaited debut of Corey Cadby on the Euro Tour, which I am very excited about. And of course, we cannot underestimate the importance of the Keegan Brown Andre Plushek game, which is game 7 this afternoon. Keegan Brown wins that. He is provisionally in a spot for the World Match Play, and that looks really precarious in that treble 20. Don't go anywhere near it. He wanted the double 14, but he's got the bull. And he's got the bull! What a shot from Justin Pipe! Denies Razma the opportunity to get the fishing rod out. And you can see that Pipe is up for this.
Yeah, takes a 97 and raises it to a 1-2-1. Pipe 1 ahead, 2 away from the second round, and a meeting with the wizard Simon Whitlock. And it'll be his World Cup teammate Kyle Anderson who's keeping an eye on this tournament. You mentioned that Keegan Brown match coming up. It's Anderson who currently sits in that last spot.
It's got to be a 180 surely. Again, he'll be disappointed. But bringing Kyle back up, this is how simple it is for Kyle. He needs everything to go wrong for everyone in order to be at Blackpool.
95.
If Keegan wins this afternoon, then Kyle knows he ain't going.
Well, there were plenty of opportunities last Sunday in Wigan. Players got to the brink of knocking him out and then lost the match. And now, really, the only likely way that he'll go out
60.
is Keegan Brown winning the match this afternoon. As you said, anything can happen. There are some players who could have huge runs and do it. Keegan could even get in and then still end up finding himself not back out if somebody emerges.
That's what makes weekends like this just that little bit more exciting. I remember last year in Hamburg when we were on Northie watch, and it wasn't very good fun for Northie, but for us it was really, really amusing and really exciting.
You're a cruel, cruel man, Paul.
Of course
Nicholson.
I am. It's happened to me before.
100.
It's a horrible seat to sit in, and you can't do anything about it. If you want to get yourself into something, you've got to have it in your own hands. When it's out of your hands, it feels terrible. Oh, we haven't seen Richard North on the European Tour this year. The only place I've seen him is on the side of a milk carton.
So we'll leave that there, or care to elaborate?
You know, in America, when people go missing, they find themselves on the side of milk
I
cartons.
see where you're going now. Yeah, he has had a
require 127.
poor start to the Richard North, hasn't he?
Well, we will see more of him. I am certain about that.
Well, we see a bit of Razmataz here. Finds a 57. But not the ball.
Justin, you require 100.
Will it be the 1-2-1 hit by Pipe and the 1-2-7 missed by Razma that proves to be the difference in this match? Because the force is going to get a dart.
Double 13. Likes them straight down the pipe.
Game
Down the
start
pipe
on the
is
eighth
Pipe.
Justin Pipe.
That is a killer blow. And that one, coupled with the 1-2-1, they're going to hurt.
Well, I suppose it doesn't matter when you've only got one dart at double which one you go for. However, I thought that second dart was pretty close to the treble then.
Yeah, very, very true. And Justin has a habit on things like 108 to go 60, 20, double 14.
100.
Likes those doubles around 14 and 11, 13 and 6, as long as you get the line right. He saw on a couple of those shots in this match. If he gets that line right, he doesn't have to be precise on the weight. He can have a little bit of a miss and still get there.
Well, you said about 5 minutes ago, Paul, based on the stats that Justin Pipe was more likely to kick on and up his game. And since you said that, checkouts of 121 and 106, and he's raised his average to 95.
83.
It's a really hard subject to broach sometimes, because at this stage of the season there's been a lot of chatter about Ian White, and he's not been put into the World Series, things like that. And Justin talked a few seasons ago about how good he was. He was in the same sort of ilk as Ian White. Top 10 player, winner on the Euro Tour, winner on the floor, didn't get picked for World Series or Premier League or anything like that. And their marketability was brought into question. But one thing I will say is that Justin Pipe has got a much more marketable game these days than he used to have, because he plays a bit quicker these days. He does show his emotions on the stage. And I think Justin wholeheartedly believes that he can get back there.
Yeah, he's certainly got the substance, but it was questioned whether or not he's got the style.
Well, he hasn't. He wasn't in the Worlds last year, Justin Pipe, which would have been very weird. And that'll do one of two things to you. That'll inspire you to get better, or you'll get stuck in that rut and you won't get there for a few years. But it seems to me like Justin has got his head right at the minute, and he seems to be very focused.
Well, he's left the 120 out. Perhaps a perfect finish for Justin Pipe.
135.
And it would complete a
Justin
hat-trick
120.
of ton plus checkouts at the back end of this match. It was 3 apiece. It's not going to go.
Well, that's the dart that Razma wanted. He wanted a big 5 or a big 1. That gives him the knowledge that he is definitely coming back. And if Razma can execute this, it's the first breakdown of 2 that he needs.
And again, he takes a step away from the hockey. Just trying to keep calm. Double 10. Last chance. And he finds it with the last dart in hand. He's up for it, and he's still in it.
He did keep calm, and he's carrying on. Intriguing match, this. It's not the same pace of an MVG versus JDZ, but it gives you a little bit more to think about. And these guys are just saying to themselves, come on, get this win. Inflate that confidence just a little bit. I want to keep playing here in Prague this weekend. I want to give myself a chance.
Well, I'm going to put this out there. If anybody's slowed this game down a little bit, it's Madars Razma, not Justin Pipe. A few times, I'm not saying that as in he's done it to try and slow down his opponent, but a few times he's taken a little bit of extra time for himself. He's stepped back for important shots. He's taken his time approaching the hockey.
Yeah, I think you're right. He hasn't done it from a naughty point of view. He's done it from a sensible point of view, because sometimes when your heart's pounding a bit and your old knees are knocking on an important double, you need that extra breath. And I like the rhythm that Justin's played in this game. He looks comfortable, focused. And you can see sometimes when he talks to himself, walking to the board, that he's just trying to stay in that zone. Try not to be distracted. And on a Friday, we've seen it many times, the slightly quieter atmosphere. You've got to be able to play it very much like the Pro Tour in Barnsley and Wigan. Got to stay within your thoughts and not get carried away.
Well, he's done well to navigate past that first start. Needed another treble to have left himself on a finish.
Have you ever thrown Justin's dart?
Never.
I don't think there's anybody else in the world who can throw them, apart from Justin. They are just so odd. For me, they're so imbalanced, but Madars Razma has found the exact balance he needed there, and now he has a chance of taking it all the way, but he's going to be under the biggest pressure of all, because Pipey's left himself 64.
Madars should require 95.
Been several of these moments in this match where both players are poised on a finish. May only be a dart at the ball. He's going to do better than that. Well, I'm surprised that he can't work it out. He knew what he was going for. Or maybe he couldn't see whether it was in or not. He wants double 5. Oh, and he's buffed the whole thing.
Well, he was out of his rhythm, and he's had an absolute disaster there.
Well, that sums up why you should know the sums, Paul.
Pipey knows what to do. Double 8, 1 left.
Game, shot,
And Justin Pipe